Alrighty, we're here today to interview Robert Lederer. And Robert Lederer, why don't you give me a...
Leather? How about Letterman?
Haha. Why don't you tell me...
Robert Letterman.
Why don't you tell me what your job was and what kind of companies you worked for and what you did?
Okay, I worked for Merrill Lynch. After I left Merrill Lynch, I set up a trading at Lederer. And in both instances, I traded euro convertible bonds and multi-currency bonds.
Okay, cool. And for everybody's knowledge, we're like in Grand Central, so it's really, really loud in here. So my first question to Robert's going to be, what is it like right before the opening bell on the trading floor or after the closing bell?
Well, it depends on who you are and what gets you going. For me, the best part of the day was the anticipation just before the trading bell started. I love the business so much, I didn't need any artificial stimuli, like a lot of my colleagues. So therefore, the nervousness that I experienced was more of a sort of a gleeful anticipation like a kid, rather than, oh my God, what am I in for? In fact, I'd like to tell you a story about what happened to me one Sunday evening when I was entertaining a gorgeous, gorgeous woman in my apartment. And we were standing on the balcony, it was a summer's day, and it was about 9:30, 10 o'clock in the evening. And as we're gazing out over the 59th Street Bridge, she said to me, "Don't you get a bit nervous at this time?" And I thought to myself, "Ooh, this is great. I know what's coming next." And I was completely wrong, because she was referring to the fact that tomorrow morning was Monday morning, and that the trading day would, trading would start on the following morning, and she was also in the business, and she got very worried and very scared and often didn't sleep very well on Sunday evenings. And that was the first time in my life I realized how different I was from a lot of my colleagues, because my thought was, oh my God, Sunday night is the best evening of the week, because guess what? I can go in tomorrow morning and do what I do best, what comes naturally, and I get paid for it.
That's awesome. Sounds like you had a fun job.
I did.
So, I don't know if you're going to answer me this one or not. Maybe you can give me some kind of estimates, but what's like the most amount of money you lost or made in any kind of given day or any kind of trade?
I don't want to get into that. First of all, I honestly can't remember.
Right. So that must mean it was a lot.
No. It's just that as a trader, you are trained to deal with losing money and making money. There's no such thing as making money every minute, every day. You have a lot of positions, and you lose money a lot, and you make money a lot, and the name of the game is just to make more money than you lose. And I worked with a great team, I had a great boss, I had a great partner. So there really weren't any situations where we lost so much money on one particular situation that it sticks in one's mind. There were time periods where I just couldn't do anything right. And that's when you need your partner. And there were times, yes, when I got up and I said to my partner, you take care of everything for a couple of days, because everything I touch is turning into crap. But on an individual basis, there were no lightning bolts.
Alrighty, that's good. Well now, what was your best experience, would you say, as a trader?
My best experience, again, wasn't an individual one. It was basically the first couple of months when I came over from Merrill Lynch in London to New York to set up a specialized trading desk for them. I was so happy to be here on a business basis, on a social basis, and I had incredible self-confidence, and I had a lot to prove, and I was incredibly confident that I was right. And when I opened for trading, I knew, it sounds ridiculous, but I knew within an hour that I was going to prove all the naysayers wrong, all the people who said you're not going to make as much money as you think you are over in New York. And the fact is that I came over in the middle of 1985. I had no financial targets for 85. It was just establish yourself, let people know you were there, and I had full year targets for 1986. And 3 months after opening for business in 1985, I blew through my full 1986 full year targets.
Wow.
So I just had a blast. I was printing money, and everything in the garden was rosy.
Nice. What would you say was your craziest moment as a trader?
I wasn't a crazy trader. Traders have different styles. I may be crazy as a person. I think you have to be, quite frankly, to work in that environment. But I was always very, very patient. I always used to think, I'm not going to say clearly, but relatively clearly. I was always fairly quiet. I mean, I can be very combustible, but I didn't yell and scream all the time. In my entire career on Wall Street, I did not lose my temper once.
Wow.
So I had a different trading style. There are other guys who were far better for markets where you had to go in and trade manically. Frankly, I'm no good at that.
Right.
So that's not how I traded. I mean, everybody does something or tries to do something in any business or any job which plays to their strengths.
Right.
My strength was patience and vision.
And how did you communicate with all your colleagues to get all your trades done?
Basically by phone.
Yeah. And how do you think that could have been improved upon?
Personally, I don't think it can. I mean, look, you can have electronic communication, of course. One of the things I liked about communicating by phone, and of course it's all based on trust, and everybody did trust each other because there's tremendous external pressure to live up to your word. If you broke your word once, you were finished. So that was never an issue. It's something that people from the outside talk about, but on the inside it wasn't an issue. One of the reasons I like talking to people is you can sense something from their voice. And there's nothing unique in that observation, but I enjoyed that, and frankly I enjoyed hearing the other guy buckle as I nailed him.
Well, what happened nowadays, like in the world of technology, where people are instant messaging all day instead of talking on the phone? Still people you trust.
It would be the same. I mean, the bottom line is that when you're in a business, you adapt to the technology that's available to you, quite frankly. And it swings and roundabouts. Obviously, what you lose in terms of the personal contact, you gain in terms of information gathering, accuracy of information, and presumably, when you're looking at all the information that's available to you, you can stream it so that you're not looking at everything. You're only looking at the things that are important to you. So I mean, I could see working in that environment. Yes.
And what would you tell someone today who was just starting out in the business and wanted to become a broker or a trader?
There's nothing I can tell a trader.
It's trying to get a job as a trader.
No, let me tell you something. It's a truism to say that you have to be internally driven to be successful. I've had people ask me that. When I was in the business, I had a lot of people approach me where I live and say, my son, my daughter wants to get into this. Can you help them? And I say, look, I can set up interviews, I can do this and that. The bottom line is you have to be driven and you have to be slightly crazy. And if you are not like that, you cannot succeed. And I'm not exaggerating, because the pressure is so intense that you either have to be able to deal with it, or if you're very lucky like I was, you don't even see it as pressure. You just see it as a massive stimulus.
Right.
So there's no way that, quote unquote, an ordinary person, even a super, super bright person, can get into that environment unless they want to.
Right.
And when they want to, that will be recognized by the people in that business.
Right.
And they'll make that kind of magnetic connection. There's no other way.
All right, so we're working for a company right now, taking this video for a company called Pivot. And so I want to know what your pivot point was professionally in your career.
When you say pivot, can you define that more clearly for me so I can answer?
Pivotal moment. The moment that made you decide you were going to, you made it, or you quit, or the best moment of your life, or the worst moment of your life.
Easy. I actually can't go into details, because if I start getting into the details of this particular incident, even though it's 20 years after the event, it still gets me going. But basically, I planned for a certain event or series of events. And when I say plan, I mean in my head I had an overall vision of what was going on in the marketplace. And there was a massive, massive event took place in which I was a huge contrarian. Not only would I have made a great deal of money, that was actually very short term. It would have sealed my reputation for decades. And all the positions that I had set up were undone by an unauthorized series of trades which were carried out on a Friday evening away from the desk by someone who completely screwed everything I had done for 3 years. When I came in on Monday morning and the event that I had known or sensed actually happened, and instead of being the hero that I had set my book up for, I was devastated. You know, admittedly, along with everybody else, the game was up, and I never recovered.
Wow. Interesting. Well, you know what? You've got one great personality. I'm sure whatever you do in life. What are you thinking about doing next? You thinking about going back and being a options trader?
What I'm thinking of is getting this gal, Ronnie Rudell, to become my agent.
Oh, right. Yeah, well, that's a good idea.
And I'm going to hire her now on video as my agent/manager to get me back into the business. Because if she genuinely thinks that much of me, as opposed to schmoozing me just to get her freaking video, then let her do something useful, and I'll give her a piece of the action.
All right.
I'm signing off.
All right, I like deals like that. Thank you. Bye-bye.